Hello and welcome to Platinum Politics. I'm your host, Mace. Today we have another installment of Impromptu Debate. Now, before I get this debate started, I want to give a little bit of context. We are talking about this tweet, and this clip.
If it happens 3 times and you can't say anything ever when it's happening, and you're noticing it, then, probably it's time to take a step back from casual sex.
Maybe she did take steps, and then she, trained, and then she came back, and it happened again.
Well, maybe. Just a line full of stealthy dudes. It's just like a science at this point.
I don't know, I would say most people. Oh shit. I think this is from the person who is the retarded child. They said, I've actually been saying no, just made him me harder. I know that's what happened after he pulled out. This is not incomprehensible. I would just walk away from the situation.
Now, Fentmeister joined the call, and he asked me how I felt about that clip. We had a little discussion back and forth about it, and then Puma joined the call, and they had apparently been having a conversation about this prior, so they had just started from where they had ended off. While they were discussing, they stopped for a second and told me to record, so now, here's today's Impromptu Debate.
By examining his own attitude towards the possibilities of peace.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum would be entirely unjustified.
The deadliest plane crash in more than 2 decades. The rules were that you guys were going to fact check.
I have detractors? You, sir. I don't believe it.
And then when it happens, we put those people in prison. There's not really much you can do outside of that because it's like saying, oh, how do we stop murder from happening? Well, we can't. That's always going to be a thing. You get me?
No, I get you, but it's like, wait, maybe I guess I.
Yeah, like
maybe
you're
I'm
trying
just
to
smarter
find a
than most
solution
people.
for something that can never be like fully solved. Like you're essentially telling me, oh, we need a way to help women stop themselves from being. That's like telling them, hey, we need to find a way for men to stop, getting murdered.
I mean, I would agree. Like, we probably should find ways for dudes to not get murdered.
Yeah, but there's always going to be a chance of getting murdered.
Yeah,
you wouldn't even blame the guy for getting murdered.
No, I'm not blaming the dude for getting murdered. So I'm just saying, hey, here's some ways that you can keep this from happening.
Yeah, but again, when somebody comes
yes,
out,
it always can happen. It always can happen. This can.
Yeah, it always can happen. Yeah.
And
your solution is to never have sex.
The reason why.
Also, even if you don't, even if you're fucking abstinent, people will still try to rape you because abusers will always exist.
The reason why I said probably shouldn't have casual sex is because we've already established that if you try and establish boundaries, there's a chance that guys will do it anyway, and especially in a situation like this, to where this girl tried to say hey, I don't want this to happen. Hey, I'm not fine with that. I'm not comfortable with that. And it's okay, she can't do that because there's a pretty high chance that she can get hurt. It's okay, well, that happens. You can't tell this dude because this guy will come and hurt you. Which
there's a possibility that
Okay, so that.
But you do realize this is just the life of a woman, right?
No, I agree, but it's I'm trying to find the issue that I'm having is I'm trying to find solutions and ways to this problem. Yeah. And it feels like when I try and find solutions and ways to this problem, I'm the one that's over here being oh, you're victim blaming, you're man blaming, you're doing all this shit, and I'm just trying to find ways to prevent this shit from happening.
Ways for women to protect themselves. Yeah, but this isn't the problem. This is the problem as the man. That's my whole point, is that you're focusing so hard on what the woman can do. That's the whole problem with the initial tweet, is that it's literally happening as the person is coming out with their story and just bitching about it and just venting about the fact that she was just recently, and then your immediate response is to go, hey, here's what you could have done differently. That's literally implying that it's her fault without you meaning to, I guarantee you, but that's what's happening. Also,
if that's what you think, then I guess my mom and every single person in my life has pretty much just unconsciously blamed every single little fucking thing and every little thing that happens.
See, this is what you're doing now, dog. What the hell? I'm literally explaining to you that when they come out, you shouldn't just go, hey, here's what you could have done differently.
Oh, okay.
As it happens.
Okay, well, okay, and that's specific.
Also, you're blaming the victim for saying.
I'm not blaming the victim. I'm trying to find ways for the victim to not be a victim because this has happened to them multiple times. I'm trying to find ways to have way decrease this and make it to where it doesn't happen a 4th time because this has happened to you 3 times prior.
How do you know this has happened to her 3 times prior?
Well, because
where'd you get that number from?
This statement here, maybe I'm just wrong here. Maybe they're talking about a different scenario. But I was watching from Vosh because I'm assuming this is the conversation that you're talking about. If not, I think I could probably find the original conversation.
Oh, okay. So she said that when she's told them to stop. Okay, yeah. Okay. So then so 3 times. Yeah, but either way, that happens to women. It's a very big risk, and unfortunately, the only thing to do is to call out men for it and to educate men on consent. That's the best way to deal with it. But instead, we're focused focusing on, hey, what can she do to prevent herself from getting instead of, hey, how do we stop men from?
No, I get that, but I guess
seemed
it's like
you notice how the focus has shifted from her, from the guy being.
How many times in this specific scenario I'm looking at? I'm like, okay, how many times are we gonna, or not necessarily how many times?
Why does that matter?
What are we gonna do? Like us sitting here telling dudes like, hey, don't do this thing when a woman's telling you not to do. Like maybe it's just me, but it's like I don't know how that.
Yeah, some things you just can't control. That's the problem. And like, yeah, but we have a culture that insinuates these sort of things. And what you're doing right now is essentially taking the conversation away from, hey, this man is the guilty party, to, hey, this woman didn't do enough to make sure she didn't get.
I'm not trying to take it away from her.
But that's what Destiny did. That's what the Medicator did.
What Destiny did here?
Yeah, that's what Destiny's doing here. He's victim blaming, just outright.
Okay, I'm just gonna play the clip. Maybe we're just listening to dude.
If it happens 3 times and you can't say anything ever when it's happening, and you're noticing it, then I mean, like, probably it's time to take a step back from casual sex.
Like, to me, that's not.
No, finish watching. Finish the clip.
Okay.
Like,
Maybe she did. Maybe she did take steps, and then she like trained, and then she came back, and it happened again.
well, maybe.
That's insane. It happens fucking if you went away and then it happens again, like once again. This is what I said. Either it's genuinely just
finish the clip.
Oh, okay.
Just a line full of stealthing dudes. It's just like a science at this point.
I mean, like. I don't know, like I would say most people. I think this is from the person who is the retarded child. They said I've actually been saying no, just made him me harder. I know that's what happened after he pulled out. This is not incomprehensible that I would just walk away from that situation.
That is an awful clip.
He laughs. He laughs.
Hold on. I don't. Okay, maybe I'm just fucked up, but I don't give a shit that he laughed. I'm trying to pay attention to what.
You don't give a shit that Destiny laughed when the thing that literally, like, his whole argument shifted on the idea that, oh, this woman isn't establishing boundaries by saying stop during it, and that is a response that, yeah, they get them harder, and immediately starts laughing at that idea.
I mean, no,
and then actually laughing at a woman being raped. And then his immediate response is, I don't think she should be having casual sex. That is vile to me. That is vile.
When I'm listening to this debate, I'm trying to listen to like what they're actually saying. Like, I don't give a shit what last.
That is what they're saying, though. That was the whole problem. This literally hinged on his whole argument was that she didn't establish boundaries, but she did, and when she tried to again, they just her harder, and then he laughs.
Okay, well then,
and just says, "Oh, she shouldn't be having casual sex." This was literally the thing to defeat his argument. And he just laughs and goes, "Oh, she should be having casual sex."
Wait, does he say this right after he laughs?
Yes, that is exactly what he says after she laughs.
Okay, hold on. Let me just.
Because it's not really edgy. It's not even like a so dark it's funny type thing, because it's just a thing that happens, and it's also a direct counter to a point that he's made, which is that the woman should have explicitly called out the sexual assault. So this isn't just like, him laughing at a dark thing. This is the counter argument to his point, which unambiguously invalidates the only vestige of an argument that he had.
I mean, not necessarily, because the thing.
Yes, it is. It does. It was his whole thing.
No, well, not necessarily.
That was everything he was arguing about. Yes.
No.
He also noticed that he called her a retarded child.
That was on the tweet I saw. That was fucked up. But once again,
what do you mean that was? Yeah.
Once again, going back to the statement, this is what he said. This is what he said here. So you play the video.
If it happens 3 times and you can't say anything ever when it's happening, and you're noticing it, then I mean, like, probably it's time to take a step back from casual sex.
Yeah. So he says.
Wait. So again, if you can't stop it, then you should take a step back from having casual sex. Yeah, because every partner you meet during casual sex is going to do that. Also, anytime. Okay, so it's again. This is him blaming her. This is blaming her. If you want to stop getting raped, stop having casual sex. That is your argument. That is your solution.
Maybe not, if we're gonna be really technical about what he's saying.
You do realize you could still get raped even when you're not having you abstain from casual sex, right?
I'm trying to find best ways for you to prevent this thing. I honestly disagree with the whole entire talking about men.
Yeah, but you're focusing on what she can do when it's literally not her fault.
Okay, so let's just say we tell dudes this. Because it happens. Yeah. What do we do?
Yeah, we talk to people about consent, and then when somebody comes out, we don't just go, "Oh, you could have done something different," because there's always something you could have done something different. That's just the trial. You always can pick something apart. But the truth, it doesn't matter what you do. There'll always be abusers who will do this no matter what you do. Sometimes it just doesn't fucking matter.
No, I agree, and I think
there is no fucking real solution. You just live your life as best you can. the
I
God
agree,
that
but I
you
think
don't become a victim.
that you should do it, that you should probably do that thing. That's why it's like I don't really disagree with that statement, because you said like, hey, maybe you probably should take a step back, which I have to agree with. If you find this case happening a numerous amount of times, then I'd be like, hey, you probably should.
You realize this is coming from the guy who admitted to like sharing people's sharing explicit sexual recordings against their will. Also, he was.
I don't agree with that statement. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think that's fucked up.
So yeah, you're taking the side of the guy who does this shit. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I get.
Yeah, you don't think this is a red flag at all to like his innermost thoughts about consent?
I mean, I don't agree with his innermost thoughts about consent. I don't take.
Right, exactly. This should be explanatory. He was victim blaming. This is what he did.
I mean, like maybe this is victim blaming, but I think that ultimately we have to find ways to figure this shit, figure out how to defend that isn't the fucking issue. I don't feel like that's fucking wrong.
Yeah, but you're essentially saying he's not at fault when he's literally doing that. This is the equivalent to like, oh, what was she wearing? Like, you shouldn't be dressing like this if you don't want to get raped.
Well, to my knowledge, I'm pretty sure even what you're wearing doesn't have that much effect on you even getting raped in the first place.
Okay, then how am I supposed to be good faith about this now?
I don't.
Because you're unironically doing the thing. You're unironically saying, what was she wearing is a valid argument or something like that.
I'm not saying what she was wearing is a valid argument. I just mentioned that part because I feel like these are two different arguments of what we're saying. The issue that I'm having when I'm having this conversation is that I feel like I'm trying to find ways to prevent this shit from happening. Because us sitting here telling guys like, hey, doing this particular thing is wrong and bad, and this shit keeps happening, we need to, at some point, we have to acknowledge, hey,
we don't do that. We don't really do that. That's why we have a culture that literally caters to this sort of thing. When we do this is what happens. We then victim blame, and it's like it infantilize the person. That's the natural response. The fact that most guys who see that, like, you didn't even notice the issue with the statement until I pointed it out. Like, the fact that you didn't recognize the immediate problems with the statement that Medicare made is telling of how we have a rape culture.
You mean that Destiny was made?
Both Medicare and Destiny. Like, the initial tweet was from Medicare.
Oh, I only know him by.
Yeah, that was the initial tweet. Was that like, oh, if you can't tell a guy to stop, you shouldn't be having casual sex. Like, if you don't see an issue with that, then I think you need to take a course on consent and probably should not be near women.
Issue with that, I think that's fucked up. But ultimately, that's the world that we live in. Like,
so you think that you okay? So
I think that's fucked up.
So you think that's a valid response?
No, I don't think that's. I don't. No, wait, hold on. I don't think that it. I think
you need to take a course on consent.
I don't think that it's necessarily valid that people should. That it's okay for people to get like. I don't think that's necessarily valid for people to just sit here and get raped. But I think it's valid to try and say like, what the fuck can we do to prevent these people from getting hurt? Because the shit is.
You do recognize that most of the people I've had this argument with, who side with Destiny, genuinely believe it's the woman's fault for not doing that. Yeah, that's the takeaway. That's what they take away from this most of the time.
I'm not the other person, guys.
Yeah, but you're doing the same arguments that they're doing, that they shouldn't be having casual sex. It's their fault.
I'm not saying that it's her fault, but I'm saying
by implying that she shouldn't be having casual sex, you are implying the implication is that leads.
What can we do to prevent this thing? What can we do to find ways to protect yourself?
Educate men better. That's what we do.
Okay, we're doing that. This shit still happens. What do we do?
Do it better, because we're definitely not doing enough.
Okay, I mean, all right, I don't.
Because the other solution that you're coming up with is don't have casual sex, implying that's hurtful.
Well, no, not even necessarily don't have casual sex. Is to find ways to set boundaries, but that doesn't work because the girl will get the shit. Which you brought up to my attention.
The boundaries were already set up. They were violated.
Okay, yeah, and you're right. That they were violated. They were broken. This girl tried.
It's not on her. The boundaries.
You're right. It's not on her. It's not on her. You're right. I agree with you. I agree with you. It's not on her. I don't think that should be. You're right. I don't agree that. I don't think that she deserved to get for that on her. That she got raped. But the issue that I'm having is that I'm trying to find ways to once again figure out ways to protect yourself to prevent this thing from happening. Like people steal from each other all the time. Does that not? People steal from each other all the time. I'm not gonna say the person that got stolen from it's on them, but I'm gonna tell them like, hey, let's try and make sure next time let's try and figure out ways to make sure you don't get your shit stolen from you. I've been told this by a woman even.
Yeah, and if you want to say like, oh yeah, like this is kind of the thing though. Like this is happening right as it happens. So it's not, it's taking the argument away from, hey, how do we stop guys from doing this, to how do we get women to not like defend, like how do we
what
should they do to like not have it happen to them?
I agree with you, but it's like, how do we stop guys from doing this?
Education, also prevention of some sort. Yeah. The truth is that there's always going to be abusers. There's always going to be a case like this. Just like there's always going to be somebody who's going to murder someone.
Try and protect people, to keep yourself protected, or find ways to get away.
Of course, and there are ways to do that, but this is not the time to do it. There's a time and place for it. This is not the time or place. Okay. That's the real issue here, is that when somebody comes out and tells their story, you don't then tell them what they could have done. You then go, yeah, I'm sorry that happened. That guy literally deserves to hang. You don't immediately point out the flaws that she did or what she could have done differently. You point out what you agree with her, that it was the guy's fault. Because she's not looking for that. She's not looking for that. Obviously, she already knows what she could have done differently. The point is that it happened.
Does she? I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if she actually knows what she can do there. I don't.
Oh my god.
I don't know if she actually knows. I don't fucking know.
Well, maybe you should take a course on this, because like I really recommend you do. If this is your response, I really do recommend taking a course on this sort of thing.
Okay. I try and look into it.
Anyway, I've gone way over my break, so I gotta go. I'll catch you guys later.
Alright, catch you later.
Now, a little while after Puma had gotten off, it had joined another call with me while I was just casually gaming. He claimed that his friend could debate this topic way better than he could, and that he could better get across the point that Fent was trying to make. Now let's see how that turned out. We're going.
Okay, we're live? Okay. So you know the whole thing with Destiny. Okay, so years back, this woman had tweeted out that she was recently stealth, which basically means you take the condom off midway through sex, and without the other person knowing, and which is basically sexual assault. Now, she was explaining how that happened to her, how this happened before, and how she wants men to do better, essentially. Venting it, like just giving her story that just happened. Medicur responded with the tweet of, if you can't tell a guy to stop, you shouldn't be having casual sex. So, right off the bat, that's pretty much just victim blaming is what it is. Because it's, one, she never said that she had noticed during the sex that he was stealthing her. Number two, what if she did and like there was a threat of violence against her? Like what if she like knew about it but didn't want to risk getting hurt? Because, you know, if the guy's willing to go against your boundaries on that, why would you expect him to not do stuff to you if you try to stop him? So basically, then Destiny goes and retweets that thing from Medicur, saying that basically agreeing with them. And then someone points out, hey, it's interesting that Destiny has this take, considering that if he believes that if a transgender woman does not state that she is transgender, or basically has a penis before sex, that is equivalent to him. To which then he responds, if you cannot tell somebody to stop, you are basically too immature to have casual sex. And then it just goes on like that for a good long while, and it goes as far as call her a retarded child, basically, and it's later then revealed that she comes back on Twitter to say like, yeah, okay, so here's the thing. I didn't realize he was stealthing me until after he had finished, and I have been before, and when I told them to stop, they just me harder. Okay. And then when Destiny heard that, his response was to laugh and say, yeah, I don't think she should be having casual sex.
Okay. So your stance on Destiny's opinion is that he's victim blaming?
Yes, this is victim blaming. Especially if you take into account of his tweets, the rhetoric he uses, as well as just like how dumb his arguments are.
Okay. Just to be clear, I don't agree with Destiny. I would disagree with Destiny. Now, I am interested in hearing, what do you pose as like a solution in this kind of scenario? What would you say?
Well, in this kind of scenario, if you're already being raped, there's not much you can do. Like, what are you supposed to do? Exactly.
But I'm saying going forward for this person to solve their issue, their recurring issue, what would you say they should do?
I would expect us men to do better by helping increase education, men to understand casual sex, make sure we don't engage in apologia, try to make a social environment where it's less likely to, one, happen, and two, get away with it.
Okay.
Like, you know, just basically do better. We don't really have good education on consent in this country. We don't do enough to make sure that we check in on, like, educate other guys and call other guys out for when they do this shit. We don't really punish rapists that often because most of the rape goes either A, unreported, or B, there's not enough evidence to convict, so it's like, doesn't matter. And most of the time, we just don't believe the victim.
Okay.
It's one of those, it's like a multitude of different things. We engage, and we also engage in rape culture. The fact that when I talked about the first tweet, and people in the call before you did not see the issue with the tweet, pretty much says a lot about how kind of normalized rape to a degree and start immediately blaming victims. It's questioning, hey, what can they do differently to prevent rape, rather than, hey, what can we do to stop men from being women?
Okay.
Because that's I think the other issue that I never went over with Brett was that, like, he would constantly say, like, oh, what's something like that she could do to prevent herself from getting raped? But that's kind of the thing. Women already do that themselves. They already try their best to do that shit. Truth is, the fact of the matter is, we men don't do enough to stop other men from raping. That's the real thing here.
Okay. I told my friend before I came here that I wasn't, like, gonna debate or, like, give my opinion, but I changed my mind, so I'm gonna... Okay. So let me start. I'd say that before this, when you were talking to the other people, the initial tweet where they respond with, you should stop having casual sex, basically.
Yes, you should be having casual sex if you're too immature to basically tell them to stop.
Okay.
That was the whole thing.
I'd say that the people in the call before this that initially heard that and responded with, what could she do differently? I'd say that's not so much a culture as, like, the statement itself being pretty, like, ambiguous along the lines of not necessarily victim blaming at that point. Not saying that Destiny wasn't victim blaming throughout from that point forward, but the initial statement itself that Destiny made was kind of ambiguous toward solving this person's problem in their life rather than tackling the social structure itself. Going forward, Destiny does kind of get toward victim blaming when given the, you know,
goes towards victim blaming, dude. For the jump,
well, I wouldn't say kind of. I'd say it's victim. Okay, if we're gonna have a debate, I'm gonna need you to not talk over. But I'd say that Destiny is definitely, I didn't mean kind of as a, like, absolute, but, like, now I'm absolutely saying he was definitely victim blaming after that, when he get to, like, you know, being given context around the situation. But from a basic view, from the first statement, I'd say it's not so much culture. But from that point forward, it's definitely victim blaming. But in my opinion, I'd say there's nothing wrong with saying culture is overbloated and we need better, like, education and better punishments for this kind of thing so that it's not as commonplace. I definitely agree with that. However, in scenarios like this, they're gonna happen even in the future after all that's put in place. So we need to also educate the people who are the victims on exiting those situations in the first place. Well, not so much saying that it's their fault that they're in the situation, but to get out of it in the first place. Stealthing itself is something that you can avoid if you have a strong enough voice. You cannot avoid. Listen. You cannot avoid if somebody does it without your. Okay, listen. You can't avoid stealthing if someone does it without your knowledge. But if you tell somebody and they do it, and then you know after the fact, you need to leave the situation. You cannot let it happen to you multiple times. Okay, that's what I mean.
Can I go?
Go ahead.
Okay, so you're expecting people. Okay, do you know what happens when people realize they're being sexually assaulted? You know what the most common response is?
Go ahead.
They freeze up. They freeze up because, like, you know, they go through a whole thing of, like, it's like when you see a gun for the first time pointed at you. It's like you've never been prepared for that response. There's nothing that could prepare you for that response, and naturally you freeze up. Also, you're assuming that it's possible to leave. Odds are, if they're literally raping you or sexually assaulting you, they're probably not going to let you leave until they finish. So yeah, the same rules apply to if you try to tell them to stop. So to expect women to be able to stop it kind of misses the entire point. Point is that guy shouldn't be. Also, the fact is that the initial tweet happened right after she literally said that she was. So, yeah, there's a time and place to talk about what she can do differently. The time is not right as she's telling you she's being raped. That's already, like, 2 different points right there. Next is, like, yeah, obviously,
okay.
Yeah, so, like, we don't...
Can I clarify myself real quick?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So, I don't mean that we should ignore the first part about educating people so that it's not as commonplace. I'd say that's the baseline. That is where we start, right? That's where we start, educating people so that it's not as commonplace for people to rape each other, right?
Oh, yeah, that would also remind me of my last...
Alongside that, we also need to educate people in the case that it does happen, because even with punishment for rape,
I have to ask for clarification on that. What do they do when it happens? What should they do when it happens? You tell me.
What I mean is not in violent situations, not in situations where
there's always going to be a threat of violence if you're being raped, because it's already a violent action happening against you.
2 adult people who live 2 different lives. And this is in our situation, the context is within casual sex. It is not in a relationship. In a relationship, it's completely different. There's a power dynamic. 2 people cannot avoid each other, but in casual sex, you can break off a connection from someone. It is not impossible.
Midway through being raped?
No, not midway through being raped. You cannot break off.
Because that's what we're talking about right now.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay,
I'm not saying is good. I'm not saying there's something you can do. You should just break it. You should just stop having sex right then and there. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the person who is tweeting their experience, has identified that this has happened to them. From that point forward, once you identify it, you need to break the connection with the other person, because stealthing is different. Stealthing is different from being outright.
Wait, hold on. First of all, what made you think she continued to have a connection with this guy?
That's not what I mean.
Wait, what are you saying?
I'm agreeing. I'm like what I said about the first statement being ambiguous, about if you can't tell someone to stop, you need to stop having casual sex. I think there's some truth to that, which is if you don't have it in you to stop, to make your voice heard in this kind of situation, you need to break the connection off immediately.
You're expecting a victim to be able to tell them to stop.
No, I didn't say that.
That's what we are talking about. That's what the initial tweet was about.
You need to be able to avoid the other person. And like I said, alongside educating people so that is less common, there needs to be education for the victim so that they know what to do in a situation like it.
But what did they do?
Just like they lead their own life separately from the other person, they can do that every day from the point forward that they identify they've been stealthed. That isn't the same as being outright raped. That's not what I mean.
I mean, it's still a sexual assault. So
it is a form of sexual assault,
like,
but it's not outright rape.
Well, it's still sexual assault, though. You know what else isn't considered? It's also being. You're interrupting me more often than I'm interrupting you. You know that, right?
Okay, go ahead.
So first of all, being sexually assaulted, there's not that much difference here. Like, you know what? It's not considered. Wait, well, hold on. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Because like, first of all, do you know that when you force oral sex onto someone, it's not considered. It's considered sexual assault. Did you know that it's also not considered rape when you sodomize somebody, and it's just considered sexual assault? It's not considered. So there's that. Number 2.
Also, what does that have to do with me? What does that have to do with?
Well, but like, yeah, like, hold on. That's not the main point I wanted to think. What did you last say again? Oh yeah, right. The fucking, I lost it. God fucking damn it.
Stealthing is different from outright rape. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's not just that part. It was something else. What did you last say?
There needs to be education for victims as well as education.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. So yeah, but you're not telling me what the victim should do in that scenario, because what we are talking about is the initial tweet was about not telling someone to stop when you're being raped or stealthed. That's the issue here. Is you can't just like expect a person who is being sexually assaulted or to act like perfectly on that subject, especially if they, 1, never been, so it's really unlikely, and 2, there's a threat of violence, because there's always going to be a threat of violence when dealing with someone who is literally violating you. Like, they've already broken the boundaries. There's very little reason why they're not going to immediately do those other same things. So yeah, I find it very strange that we're talking, and also, right as this happening, this is also changing the narrative from, hey, this guy raped me, he's at fault, I don't think men should be allowed to do this, to, oh, here's what she did wrong, this is her fault, make sure you don't fucking allow it to happen to you again. Because that's the thing, victims are literally victims. There's not much they can do when they're already a victim. That's the point, is that we need to stop perpetrators from existing, not victims, because there's not much victims can do.
So, okay, give me a second.
I feel like we need a woman here that would help.
So, okay, let me think. I said before, could I pause you so we didn't get too far? I have a hard time keeping track of
pause you when we first started this argument. We wouldn't let me pause you when we first started this argument.
I don't think you can get into an argument. We're debating about a topic. So,
well, sorry, debate, but even then, you said I couldn't, like, stop you at any point because you had to finish, and you went on for a long time, so that's why I'm taking just as much time as you will.
Yeah, let me know if you want me to pause. Maybe don't speak over me. Just let me know if you want me to pause so you can respond to something specific. But so what I'm saying is not necessarily, or not necessarily. What I'm saying is not that it's the victim's fault that it's happening. What I'm saying is alongside the education of people so that it's less common for to even happen in the first place.
Right, yeah.
That is not something that is going to eliminate from the world
of course,
100%. So what I'm saying is in the cases. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Can I pause for a second? Yeah, just to be clear. Yeah, there's nothing really you can do to stop from no longer existing. Just like there's nothing you can do to stop murder from no longer existing. It's gonna happen, and it's not gonna. And there's not really much we can do about it from make it no longer exist. Obviously, but there is stuff we need to do. And yes, I'm not saying we shouldn't like educate women on how they can like not become victims. But at some point, we have to go like, yeah, we've kind of been doing that forever. We kind of need to start doing like, because like, yeah, like it used to be like, oh, you shouldn't wear stuff like that. You're literally like led this guy on. You probably shouldn't be doing that. Like it's that kind of thing where like there's always something you can point out that they shouldn't have done. But at the end of the day, there's nothing that sometimes you could do literally everything to prevent yourself from being a victim. But at the same time, you're going to be a victim. It just doesn't matter. Like she could have had fucking pepper spray in her bag right next to her in arm's reach so that she could spray him when she's being stealthed and somehow magically be aware that he's doing it. That still might not be enough to stop him from being a victim because, you know, abusers will exist. They are not going to abide by your necessities. They're going to come at you while you're vulnerable. No offense, but you're pretty fucking vulnerable when you're naked and having someone enter you. Like that's not, there's nothing you could really say or do about that. It's just like, yeah, like at that point when you're in the bedroom, you're already at your most vulnerable. There's nothing you can really do at that point because you've already put your trust in them. If you want to say that she should do better to find people that she can trust, sure, yeah, I agree with that. I don't think I'd be remiss to say that. But there's also something we can do to prevent men from literally becoming these things. I think the idea of culture is that we men think that we do enough when clearly we as a society have not done enough at all. I think that like women have been trying to prevent themselves from being for, well, since the dawn of time, let's be honest, versus like men who will, don't get me wrong, not all men are of course, because I'm not one and I don't think you are or anyone here is, but like, yeah, exactly. We don't really do much to combat those who believe that the victim is at fault necessarily. Like I try to educate people. That's why I have this conversation. That's why I find support, and that's why I have it recorded, because I think people need to realize that we men have to do more than it's just simply like, oh yeah, like we already do teach each other that. Yeah, we don't really do a great job of that, and that doesn't apply to everyone. For instance, we don't really do much to teach sex education. That's still an uphill battle. We have an uphill battle when it comes to like the Me Too movement. We still have an uphill battle when it comes to like convictions of and whatnot, and like literally reporting on and making sure that this are literally held accountable. We don't do enough for that. We have a lot of systems in place. Also, we put it on like that, like, yeah, men are like constantly seen as sexually promiscuous and that it's normalized. And it leads to these sort of things. We don't do enough to educate ourselves or even others on how to behave. And I think we need to do better about that before we can start asking women what they can do to prevent themselves from being raped. Because they've literally are the ones saying saying that they're being and we're not really doing much to stop it.
Okay, so
especially in the moment,
yeah,
like, there's a time and place. That was not the time or place to start doing that.
I agree. So I feel like we're pretty much on the same wavelength when it comes to like outright rape. We're like the same,
right?
And I agree with you totally. In the case that we're talking about. Specifically, okay, listen, bear with me. It's not gonna be as bad as you might think it is, okay? So, in the case that we're talking about stealthing, I feel like there's a ball in both courts. Of course, we have to educate people and create a landscape where or stealthing, which is a form of sexual assault, is something that's less common and more discouraged, right? And more punished. But there also has to be education for people, for victims, better rehabilitation for victims, and better education. Just like the person who tweeted their experience said that they had been raped before, and that caused them to have a hard time speaking up about it to their partner. Yeah. So when there's a better landscape, bear with me. Bear with me. When there's a better landscape and better punishments for it in the first place, there isn't gonna be such a commonplace response like for a victim to think that there's gonna be violent action, right? It's not gonna be as commonplace, right? So for a victim to have
hold on. What makes you think that violence is?
Because I'm saying in our world where there's better education for it, right, and there's better laws and there's better punishments, it'll be more discouraged and better punished in situations like this. Oh, there's a threat of violence. Yeah. This needs to be identified. Like here, there was a threat of violence, harder punishment because this is the situation
hold on.
where a victim has a hard time.
Hold on, I have to. You told me to pause here. I have like you said something. Like for instance, one, she didn't know she was being stealthed until afterwards. I'm saying that there's always a threat of violence because there's already a threat of violence. There's already like depending on the certain people, they don't like it when you tell them to stop doing something they're doing in bed. Let alone somebody who's already violating your boundaries by literally, doing something like sexually assaulting you.
Right.
So it's already a violent action is already taking place.
Okay. So pause right there.
You do understand
what I'm saying is post action, not during action. Post action in this kind of situation where there's a threat of violence, that needs to be better punished. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That needs to be better punished so that in the first place it'll be more discouraged and less commonplace for there to be. Oh, there's a threat of violence. I was fearing for my life. This guy, he took complete control over me, right? And I was fearing for my life, and it caused me to not be able to speak up about this. I was being stealth. I got stealth. I realized after the fact, but I was too scared to speak up about it after the fact and tell my casual sex partner not to do that. I need you to wear contraceptives, right? Post action. But post action, they're having a hard time bringing this up.
Okay, but that's natural. If somebody is doing a violent action against you, I don't expect people to be able to act accordingly even if they've been prepped for it because it's a violent action. Like that's like it's the equivalent to saying, hey, if somebody is pointing a gun at you, here's what you need to do, here's the maneuver to disarm them. And it's like, no, I don't expect anyone to do that. I don't expect anyone to even be able to like do anything but freeze up because why would I? That's not their job. They're the victim. I don't like what can they do? At that I think when you're already being in that scenario, like, it's sometimes better to just allow it to continue rather than risk harm done to you. Because that's what happens.
Is gonna kill you either way.
What?
And the person where someone's gonna shoot you, what if that person's gonna kill you either way?
Well, yeah, obviously, but like, I don't expect the average.
It's an extreme analogy.
Well, okay, it was an extreme. I don't deny that's an extreme analogy. It's probably there's better analogy out there, but you get my point, though, right? Like, I don't expect.
I understand your point. I feel like, go ahead.
I get your point, because I will say I didn't know about certain aspects of the conversation. I'm glad that you explained those, because there were certain aspects I didn't know about Destiny and talking about that and talking about some of that stuff.
It gets way worse if you.
Yeah, I was mainly focusing on like the. Especially when you sent me the Vosh video, I didn't feel like sitting here through hearing Vosh's entire opinion. I just saw
I would recommend skipping through some of it, like just watching it on 2-speed or something.
Yeah, so I tried that. And I agree with you. We should find ways to better educate men on consent and some of these things and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But the issue that I'm having in this specific case is that sadly we just don't live in that world right now. I think we should push for things like that. I think we should push for educating men, but ultimately we need to accept this as a reality that hey, some of these things can happen to women. We need to find ways to protect ourselves.
I'm not saying we should do that.
I can give you an analogy because where I'm coming from is kind of where like Fent's coming from here, where I'm like I can use like your kind of your gun analogy, right? It's really out of like
honestly that was
out of the realm of possibility. Yeah, it was a bad analogy.
It was a very bad. I'm trying to think of these things on the fly. That's the problem.
Maybe you'll understand where I'm coming from when I use that analogy, right?
Wait, hold on. Wait.
When you're held,
Can I just pause this for a second? Okay, so obviously educating women is something we should do, including about what to do during those scenarios. Like, obviously, taking self-defense classes, getting pepper spray, hell, giving them a fucking gun would be better than that. Like, obviously. But like, I'm just saying, expecting them to confront their assaulter mid-assault is just ridiculous. Like, you do recognize how ridiculous that sounds, right?
Yeah, because there's a high chance for the woman to get hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait. So, what I was trying to say was, like, I get where you're coming from. You're held at gunpoint, right? There's like, what do you? Yeah.
That argument.
But what I'm trying to say about the educating women about like how to go about these type of situations is kind of like when you're held at gunpoint, you're really scared for your life, right? And you feel like you're gonna die. Right. When you give someone a bulletproof vest or a bulletproof helmet with bulletproof glass on it, right? Even though you might still get shot, right? Also, you're gonna feel a little bit safer, or like arming someone
right.
in a situation that they're being held at gunpoint, right?
Okay.
It's kind of like I want to alleviate some of the fear around it. I want to help alleviate the fear in the situation. Like you're fearing for your life. Like this guy, he had complete control over me, right? And I was being stealth, and I was so scared to speak up. I want to alleviate the fear so that they're not as scared to speak up, so that it's not as commonplace for the violence to go unanswered, for it to go unpunished.
And if it's genuinely that bad to where they do that thing, wait, can I respond to that or no?
Well, hold on. I need to respond to that because that was a lot. I don't think we disagree on prep beforehand. Obviously, I think though that expecting a woman in a situation where she doesn't have much options other than to just speak up is kind of ridiculous to an extent. Like, because any amount of speaking up could result in harm. So in some cases, it's actually better if she just doesn't, unfortunately. You have to accept that. I think we as men don't understand that because we are taught that we are supposed to be able to fight back against anything.
Can I respond to that or
hold up. Let him finish real quick.
All right.
Yeah, so like we're taught to do that. So like we don't understand what it's like to be a woman who is literally going up against a far stronger person than them, like just physically, just biologically, we are stronger than them. We can do literally anything we want to them in that scenario. They're at their most vulnerable. There's not much they can do. You gotta placate your assaulter at that point to avoid further harm in this case. That's the reality they live in, and we kind of just have to accept that there's not much they can do during that point.
We need that to be part of the education. That is something not a lot of people grasp. I agree with you.
Women inherently know that though.
Yeah, and I agree.
Men don't.
Men do not. No, men do not.
I agree.
Yeah, I would say like there are probably a lot of guys out there that don't really agree with that sort of thing. But once again, I guess going to my sort of thing, it's like, okay, I agree with you. I get that. I get that's the case. It sucks and it's unfortunate. But what can we start teaching women to do to prepare and teach themselves in this situation, right?
I think you two are on like different sides of the. You have different focuses, right? But in my case, my opinion is that both are important. Although I say like there's a ball in both courts, but there's probably a lot more we could do to educate men than there is to educate women.
Exactly.
I'm acknowledging this. That is what I probably
and I'm not saying it's
what I was saying earlier.
Just to be clear, I'm not saying women shouldn't do stuff to prevent themselves from being raped, obviously, but the focus should be on on men, especially when the victim comes forward. Your response should not be, what should she do differently? The immediate response should be, yeah, that dude was a fucking bastard. He's culpable. Fuck him.
Okay, okay, but
Yeah,
I guess
okay.
in that case,
So,
what should we
like-
do about the dude? What do we find
exactly.
him? Do we
What
try and call him? Do we like try and call his house and try like what do we do about this case about this woman crying, like talking about it on Twitter?
I think you're viewing what Presto's saying is as like an immediate action type of thing, is more than like a progression type of thing. It's more of like a, if I'm getting it right, Presto, it's kind of a direction to move forward in, more than like.
Yeah, I
just
agree.
Just to pause it. As far as I've learned from everything, progress takes fucking time. It's never an overnight shit. Ever. You could spend your entire life working for it and only make so much change that you never actually see within close to your lifetime. But it's important to continue to try to make progress. Because we'll eventually get there at some point.
And I think what we're saying is that there needs to be a much larger effort so that we can get somewhere with the progress, right?
Right. Yeah.
Does that make sense, Fent?
No, I get you. Like, I understand. I'm not trying to necessarily say like this as an immediate thing, as necessarily immediate thing. I get that there are things over time, but it's just like, once again, going back to this scenario, I agree. Like, we should be trying to educate dudes, teach these things, teach dudes these things. But it's like, I look at something like that, and I'm like, okay, what are we exactly gonna teach in, do with dudes for like, I agree with sex education, that's a big thing, but it's like, at least maybe I'm raised differently, but it's like, at least I was raised at least to a point where it's like, I know, like, if someone tells you not to do something, you don't do that fucking thing.
Right, obviously. Some of it is common sense for a lot of us, but for others it isn't. Also, it's important wait, hold on. Just to be clear, another thing you need to do is be on the lookout for those who, one, do not understand that, and two, are willing to go against that. That's another thing. You gotta call out those kind of guys and make sure that they know, hey, be more aware of those type of people.
I think part of the education needs to be teaching compassion, because a big disconnect is not. I like you said earlier, Presto, a lot of guys really don't get that there's a real like integral power imbalance happening in situations like this, where women have a trouble speaking up and really can't do much because there's this power imbalance that guys are not aware of. You may think that in a situation like this, it's kind of like equivalent, you're both having sex, but it's not. Right. There's a power imbalance that people need to be aware of, so that guys don't do it as often because they'll feel bad. You have compassion in your heart. That needs to be a part of the education.
I mean,
I think what we also need to do is just teach the men like what it's really like to be a woman. We don't know what it's like to be that vulnerable. And also, you nailed it on the head. You fucking nailed it on the head, Litbit. That's why I didn't want to interrupt you. You fucking nailed it. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like I'm kind of going in circles because I don't necessarily disagree with what you guys are saying, but the way that I'm looking at it is like this. The issue that I'm having is like, once again, I don't disagree with what you guys are saying, but just going back to the original tweet, like we find situations for this case where, like, for this case, right, we start giving, let's just say hypothetically, we start doing all the things that we're talking about, like sex education, general education, teaching compassion, teaching more compassion people, teaching people about power imbalances, this, that, and the third, all these different things. What if someone still happens to do, what if someone still happens to do this thing? What do we do?
Well, then we punish them for it. That's all we really can do.
We punish them, but it still happens. What can we do? But this thing still happens. What exactly can we do upon ourselves to an extent to try and prevent this from happening?
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead, Litbit. You go.
What can we still do even after punishing it and it's still happening? What I think is the goal with the education is that even though in our current day and age, it getting punished isn't even happening enough, but when it does get punished, there's kind of this like unified voice of men on the internet that come back at the punishment and like don't see really what was wrong. Like, they don't really understand. But if there's an education where people start to understand, then it wouldn't be such a large voice of men. It would just be the outliers instead of the general population not seeing what's wrong with it, and it being so common as it is right now.
I mean, yes, but I feel, I mean, maybe I have to, I would see, like, say, like, generally compassion and stuff has gone down at over time, but once again, the main point that I'm just trying to get at is this, is that. I agree. It's fucked up. People shouldn't do this thing, but it exists. We should find ways to on ourselves to try and help us protect ourselves and do this thing until we can get a lot of this stuff happen.
To kind of get
happen,
you guys,
and we need to find ways to. It's gonna happen. We should find ways to protect ourselves from doing this thing. I don't necessarily disagree with you guys are saying. Education, all that stuff, but ultimately there are going to be bad people in the world, and with these bad people, we need to acknowledge that bad people are like this are gonna exist. If it gets to a point where it's like once again it's genuinely that bad to where women can't, it's like if women try and establish physical boundaries, that doesn't work. If women try and do anything physical, it's like they have a higher chance of getting hurt. Then it's like the more we start exploring some of those options, and the main option that we have is like, okay, we need to educate more dudes. It's like, I don't necessarily disagree, but like, what are some things that I guess we can act on to try and protect women? And one of those things I think we can maybe do right now is maybe I would say to the girl in there is maybe cut down a little bit on casual sex.
So essentially, you're saying that like she shouldn't be having casual sex.
I think I can bridge what you're saying. I think I can bridge what you're saying with what me and Presto are kind of saying right here. It's kind of like we said before, it's not wrong to talk about or to educate women on what to do, right? That's not wrong. It's that right now on the internet, this girl comes out talking about her experience, and it's kind of disgusting how people's first reaction is to tell her what she could do different instead of talking about what the guy did.
Because once again it's like what we could talk about what the guy can do all day, but the guy isn't there.
I'm gonna jump in here real quick. I'm gonna jump in here real quick. I'm gonna jump in here. Okay, so just being moderator real quick to kind of frame Finn's point, because I think I'm starting to at least understand what he's trying to say. This woman, in this example, she has had casual sex multiple times. We don't know how many times, she doesn't specify, but I'm going to assume at least 3 because she talks about multiple and is talking about a specific one. So I'm going to say at least 3. She's experiencing this. Most times she's having casual sex. So obviously, I'm not going to say it is her fault that this is happening, but like it's happening multiple times, so there's something that like you would expect for her to do in order for that to not happen. So
not even necessarily that. My specific point, at least now, I'm not saying like your point is exactly super detached, but especially in this case,
I was just trying to reframe your point for the
I got you. Thank you for trying to reframe it, but it's like in this case, it's like this woman is the only thing that I can interact with. This woman is the only person that I can talk to. This woman is the only thing I hear. I don't know the dude. I don't know where this dude is. I have no idea who the fuck this dude is. If he can, we should probably fucking hang up on a stake. Okay? I don't know what the fuck this happened. We should probably put him in a chair, fucking brainwash him, and say, hey, stealthing is stealthing. I wish we could do that shit, but we don't know who the fuck that is. I have no idea who the fuck that is. This person does not exist. It's me sitting here talking to dudes on the internet with this particular thing, saying men stop doing this thing. It's like it helps. I'm not saying it necessarily doesn't help, but there's also a certain amount of things that I would say like if I'm in that situation, I'm trying to find out ways to protect myself. I could say this, especially me talking to a woman about this. I've talked to my mom about this. She would say she would agree with me.
So what I think you're missing in what you're saying is, well, there's nothing wrong with what you're saying, which is like there isn't, the guy is not there. Nobody could be telling the guy what he did wrong, right? You only have the girl to talk to, but it kind of, from her perspective, it's kind of dehumanizing when you come out with this information and people don't see you and hear you before they tell you what you could do differently to avoid it, you know?
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. I think that's pretty messed up.
That's what we're saying. Part of the education on compassion is having the compassion to see and hear the woman when she comes out with this information instead of immediately giving her the solution. That's like, that's literally one thing that's on social media so often is girls talking about how they don't want a solution. They just want you to hear them, but you don't understand that. A lot of guys don't understand what that really means.
I would like to throw a statement in here, if possible.
Go ahead.
The internet is not a place known for giving the best positive advice.
Well, yeah, but like, hold on. I understand that's the case, but we're talking about whether or not a response to it is good or bad. Obviously,
there's nothing bad with giving a solution, but like. You have to see it from her perspective. She's coming out with this information that is vulnerable information that she didn't feel like talking about before because she was so scared to talk about it.
Okay,
and
actually,
she's coming out with
I have a great analogy. I have a great analogy for this. Okay, so it's like when your wife comes to you and says like how bad traffic was during that to get to either home or to work. What you think you should say is, hey, maybe leave at this time or do something better. When really that's not what she wants. She wants you to say, yeah, that fucking sucks. Fucking sucks. I can't believe you have to deal with that shit.
I agree.
Because it's about.
But here's the thing: if my wife comes to me like talks about it two more fucking times, I'm gonna blow my brains out.
But that's not our scenario. She's coming out with the info once. We're not talking about her being. What you're saying is like she was in traffic 3 times.
Well, that
and
literally
then she came to you. She came to you with the info. Not she came with the info the three different times.
Okay.
She was in traffic 3 different times and then talked about it.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean at that point, but I feel like my point still stands if this shit happened like 3 different times. Like shit happened 3 different times.
Yeah, but why would you say that right as she tells you?
Because it happened 3 fucking times.
So you really think she wants to hear that shit right when when she fucking tells you?
You guys are both like opinionally charged in this discussion.
I mean, I am because I've had the discussion.
So I feel like it gets like a bit heated, and
because I don't. Because here's my thing. Litbit, you fucking get it. You absolutely fucking get it. The problem I have is that Fate hasn't gotten it yet, so I don't know what to do. I think I should just let you at this point handle this.
I know my friend, so
yeah, exactly. Because you're fucking awesome, by the way, Litbit. I love this guy.
Thanks. Okay, so like in what you're saying, more like she went into she had the traffic incidents 3 different times and then comes to you with the info, and you're like trying to give a solution, but she hasn't told you, and we don't have the context even in this situation, which is like, what did she do differently when she was in traffic the 3 different times? Like, what did she do? What did she try? She's not saying that. She's saying I was in traffic 3 different times and the experience was really horrible, and you're like, maybe you should go to a different freeway. But you should be like, wow, traffic must really suck. Like, did you try going to three different freeways? Man, that freeway was really suck. Let's look for a different freeway. Let's try to get traffic laws changed. Like, there has to be a more compassionate approach to something like this than just straight up.
You cut out. Litbit.
Did he die?
I think he's out.
He was really fucking.
He was cooking.
They had to shut him down.
Damn it!
Cooked too hard.
They found him.
But I feel like we were coming to an agreement. Fent, is that?
Yeah.
You're kind of understanding what they were trying.
I understand what you guys are saying. I feel like once again, I don't disagree with what you got. Like, I don't disagree with what you guys are saying.
Right.
Like, I definitely think sex education, all those different things should be the case.
Right. I think what we're disagreeing about is the time and place thing. I feel like that's the biggest disagreement.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean, but I guess also in this specific scenario, if I'm on the internet and I like, damn, this girl got like stealth 3 different times, it's like, damn, that sucks. But at the same time, it's like, okay, what can we do?
Okay. So here's the thing. It's natural to try to find a solution. I don't think that's wrong. I think the first step would be to say, yeah, that sucks. Fuck that dude.
Oh, I get what he's saying.
And then, like, after a few
Fent.
different responses, then you can give your take. A little back and forth is like, you gotta. Oh god, I'm really gonna go there. You gotta have some foreplay before you go straight into it.
Puma, let me tell him. Let me see if I can. So like let's say you're at a baseball game and your friend gets absolutely clocked in the face, right?
Right.
You're gonna come up to your friend and be like, "Hey man, look, are you okay, dude? Like that sucked, man."
Yeah.
But like 5 minutes later, you're gonna be like, well, we could have done better. We could have not done what we did.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you're supposed to approach it. You comfort first and explain later.
Yeah, make sure they're okay first. Then, it's like you got, you basically, yeah.
Okay, so pretty much you kind of just want the internet to be like a more safer, better place for people to come on here and explain their problems. Okay, I get what you mean.
I mean, that's not exactly what I meant, but I mean, it just to understand. I just wanted to call out what Destiny was doing. That's all I really initially wanted.
Okay.
Just identify which are the bad ones and which are the good ones. That's all, and just admit that, Destiny and his ilk were not coming from a good place. That was exactly the worst possible response.
Okay. I mean, that I don't even know if I initially disagree with, considering what he did, but once again, the statement itself, I don't even think is, the tweet that Mindwaves made, I think is a little insensitive.
I think it was better. Yeah, Mindwave. Oh yeah, for some reason.
The tweet that Mindwaves made, I think, is a little insensitive. But the statement that I see when he's talking to this other dude, the ginger haired dude, I don't disagree.
Wait, what did he say? What did he say exactly?
He said, so I've played it here. We had watched it. I can share it again. Hi, Litbit.
Wait, are you talking about the clip from when he laughed?
Hello? Yeah, when he laughed. I don't think that statement was...
Oh, hey, Litbit, you're back. Great.
Hello? Yeah, because just to be clear, this is a statement.
Wait, you're saying that he was in the right during that when he laughed after? Oh
no, I don't think that him laughing was good. I think that saying this particular thing right here is the thing.
If you can't establish boundaries, you shouldn't be having casual sex.
On some level, yes. I think that's fair.
Yeah. Naturally, that does sound like something that is correct. Yes, technically that is correct, but that doesn't apply to that situation. That's the issue.
Well, what part of it doesn't really apply? Well, it applies because she had trouble establishing boundaries, whether it be because she felt awkward about it, or let me finish, because I already know what you're going to bring up, or the fact that last time she tried this, she ended up getting raped harder. So
I don't think you understand I don't think you understand what I was about to say. What I was about to say is that the boundaries were already established and he ignored them.
Okay,
that's the problem.
Once again, either you stating them and you just getting harder, or you stating them and them just doing it anyway. If that's the case, I would say probably should hold off or slow down on casual sex.
Okay, with your thing, even though it sounds right to say she should just slow down on having casual sex. It's at what point does she go back? Right? It's something that is threatened by her feeling really vulnerable when she does it, and it's just totally ruined at this point because people have been disrespecting her boundaries the whole time. So
may I give an example here?
Go ahead.
This is gonna be a very bad example, but this is just how I see it. She had sex the first time, got she had sex the second time, got the third time, got it's you grab an electric fence, you get shot.
Wait, hold on. Wait. This isn't the only time I don't think this is the only time she's ever had sex is by getting raped.
I know, but what I'm saying is
because you're making it sound like there's probably a lot of other instances of casual sex that happened in between these moments that all went great.
I want to throw in here, Noivang. Okay. I think we need to distinguish between, is this the same person or different people? Because I think I think we're talking about three different people.
Oh yeah.
No, this is the same person 3 different times.
Okay,
no, that is confirmed.
This is and I think when you first started talking and going the electric fence thing is that's kind of victim blaming, because you're putting the entire responsibility on her for having gotten shot and going to the fence. But
hold on. To be fair, Neuvert actually thought this was the same person raping her, which
yeah.
That's funny.
That makes more sense. That makes more sense as an analogy. Yeah, if you think it's the same person, it makes more sense as an analogy. But in the context we're talking about, it doesn't really apply.
No.
I thought it was the same guy. guys. My bad.
Nope.
But I should throw in here, if we're going to distinguish between the two, if it's the same guy over and over, then there's definitely a greater issue. But if
it's like, why are you still with that guy?
Yeah, but if it is
at that point, I would think that she's being like in an abusive relationship.
Exactly. But if it's three different guys, then there's no like, that is not her fault. You know what I mean? The fact that three.
Yeah, I agree. It's not her fault. It's not her fault. But I think if you get robbed 3 different times by 3 different people, that's also not your fault. But I'm gonna find ways for me to try and make sure I don't get robbed.
No, but like that's also part of the reason why. That's part of the issue why the initial response is kind of flawed. Because if it's 3 different people and you take a break from having casual sex, right? But there has been no progression on education for men and no progression on lowering the commonality of this happening to women, then at what point does she go back to having casual sex like she wants to do?
It just seems like it's one of those bad luck scenarios where she just got very unlucky.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if we work to decrease the commonality, there'll be less of a fear factor here, like where she's like, it happened 3 different times and there's been no progress toward me feeling safer to go do it.
I mean, fair, but
that's not a landscape that you can perpetuate. You have to start.
Yeah, I agree. We should find ways to try and fix it. I agree.
And that's our reality too.
I agree. We should try and find ways to make the landscape better, to where people can, go and have casual sex and not have to worry about this particular thing. I agree.
That's the reality right now too.
Yeah,
you have to look into people's definition of the word, because a ton of people will completely misuse the word.
Yeah, like that's why I brought up like how like it's not considered if you force them into oral sex or if you sodomize somebody. Neither of those are considered in most states.
Yeah, I get you.
It's weird.
It is weird. Yeah, I know.
What you were saying before, Fentmeister, about like, what Destiny first replies with, where she's like, maybe you should take a break from casual sex. When does she go back then? In your scenario where you're giving her this solution, when does she go back to doing it?
I also do want to point out, wait, hold on. I do want to point out that is not his response, nor his solution. His response is just outright, you should not be having casual sex because you're too immature to enforce boundaries. That is literally his entire response. You are coming up with a different solution.
Yeah, I think that's
I understand you. That you are. That's why I just want to make it clear to everyone that that's the case.
Yeah.
Just
to
for the
be fair,
audience,
Fentmeister did say before he started talking that there was some truth, not that the whole thing was true.
I know. I just want to make sure we get that cleared through, because there's gonna be people watching this when it goes up on YouTube.
So yeah, I get what you mean, but it's just like, it's like to get to a point where it's like you could feel safe. It's like, I would say probably like when we, like you said, when we start having more education, when we start having more of those different things, when we start having some of that stuff. I guess until that point, we have to find ways to fix it. I also don't know at a point where you would feel safe either, because like I don't like, I guess that's the part where you're talking about where me as a dude, it'd be hard for me to, I guess, kind of make an environment where the girl should feel safe. So it's like I don't
think.
Yeah,
I think at that point, hold on.
Like, I know people that are just like straight up probably shouldn't have casual sex. That's also a thing.
Okay, but like I feel like this is one of those. I feel like this is one of those scenarios where it's like you have to come to a conclusion that like there's always going to be these things.
Yeah,
we should keep doing the things that we're doing to stop it, of course. But like there's always going to be that fear, and to be frank, that's okay in a sense that since that we can be alerted for those who do it responsibly, but we should also do stuff to make certain that we continue to make progress where that becomes less of a commonplace thing.
And I think the response Destiny comes with in the first place is it's like the downscaled version of people going directly into victim blaming. Of course, he goes way further after that, but it's like his response in the first place isn't saying it's not like he said you should stop having casual sex right now. We'll work to make it a safer landscape so you can feel safer when you do it again. It's like, well, you should stop having casual sex, and that's it. That's his whole solution, is that the woman should just stop having casual sex and stop doing what she wants to do because men can't handle themselves. That's his whole solution. And
well, also that and like she's clearly at fault because she didn't speak up and confront her aggressor.
And that's clearly very flawed, right? Do you?
Yeah, because it
it
infantilizes her. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's unfortunate. We should definitely push for better sex education and things on consent and so on and so forth.
But while we're pushing for better education, we should push to stand up for yourself and to
That's what I was.
Speak up.
We could do.
That's
we
what
could
I
do
was
that
saying
too.
when I first came. Without
yeah,
like,
of
what
course.
I'm
Like
saying.
obviously, I wouldn't be against that either. No, like obviously, I'm just saying in the time and place.
Yeah, that you should not be afraid to say, hey, look, it's either you do this right or you don't do it at all.
No, I agree. But I guess in this particular climate where once again this person did this 3 different times and got like, I mean, once again, I don't know how many times this person has had sex. Maybe they had sex like 15 times and got 3, right? If that's the case, just like that's like fuck bad luck. I guess. Bad
RNG.
Bad
but
RNG.
What if,
and it's
what
like
if this lady never knew like the first time to speak up properly, and she's just kept staying a little quiet every time?
If she had some kind of confidence behind it occurring the first time, it wouldn't have perpetuated so easily. I feel like maybe that's kind of flawed, but
well,
I feel
to be
like
fair, she also commented
confidence.
that. Well, hold on. To be fair, she also commented like later on that she had been actually raped before, and when she told him to stop, he raped her harder.
That is
the context should matter.
She decided that's why she decided even after she found out that he was stealthing, that he had stealthed her because she didn't realize till after he had come. That it's better to not like say anything and just end the relationship there based upon past experience. Like it just makes sense. So it's not to like literally cause any harm towards her.
And because Destiny has the thing about Destiny's responses is that in the first place he has the solution and his solution's flawed, but then he goes on to be given more context that kind of makes her a victim, and then he outright laughs at it, and that's just totally the wrong response.
That's just vile. Like I have a visceral reaction to that.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why it takes.
I don't think it was like genuine laughing. I think it's
that was genuine laughter. Well, sorry.
I think it was genuine laughter.
Does anybody have
it
was clip so we
can
see
that kind of laughter? I guess. Yeah, I have it. I mean, I guess
because he was laughing before that too. He was laughing before that when like he like posed the idea that maybe she had stopped. Maybe she had taken a break and then came back and it happened again, and he just laughed at that too.
Can we pull up that clip just for context?
No, I got it. I got you right here, bro. It's right here.
I'm gonna need to leave because.
It's fine. I'm about ready to go anyway.
Yeah, it's 2 p. It's nearly 2 p.m. I want to go to bed.
Yeah, it's fair. This is the clip for me.
So yeah, I'll dip for now. Great conversation, Litbit. You're the best. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Yeah.
All right, here's a clip.
You can't say anything ever when it's happening.
Here's a clip.
If it happens 3 times and you can't say anything ever when it's happening, and you're noticing it, then I mean, like, it's time to take a step back from casual sex. Like,
maybe she did take steps, and then she like trained, and then she came back, and it happened again.
Well, maybe.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Hold on, the clip's there's more. The clip isn't done. There's more.
Just a line full of stealthing dudes. It's just like a science at this point.
I mean, like, I don't know, like I would say most people. Oh shit. I think this is from the person who is the retarded child. They said I've actually been saying no, just made him me harder. I know that's what happened after he pulled out. This is not incomprehensible that I would just walk away from that situation.
That's the factor.
Fuck. Yeah, you can't really defend that.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
There's no possible way to defend that. That's genuine laughter.
He has no compassion for their circumstances.
I mean,
there's no remorse
if he doesn't, I don't either, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, and I feel like that's pretty bad. I think that's pretty bad. And you might be.
So we can
one of the
all
main
agree.
people
We can
that
all
need
agree
the,
that clip is absolutely disgusting.
Yes.
I mean, I think it is a pretty fucked up clip.
Okay.
But at the same time, if someone told me that shit right after the. Actually, no, wait, never mind. It's a fucked up clip. It's fucked up.
I guess
it is
just to end off this recording. Fent, do you want to give like a closing statement, and then what's your name again? Litbit.
Litbit.
If you wanna give one after Fent, we can close this out. And Noivane, if you want to say something at the end too, yeah, we can do that.
I'm good. I got nothing else to say.
Yeah, I don't have anything either. I'm about ready to end this.
For me, I'm Litbit. New character. That's it.
I hope you enjoyed that video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to join the Discord if you want to be involved in anything that we do on the server. Giveaways, events, and more. Link down in the description. I'll see you there.